You are listening to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Shamaya Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Shamaya Reed.
Hey, welcome to I Am Refocused Radio. We are here once again, and today we have another show lined up for y'all today. Man, today we're going to explore childhood trauma and find out the core problem of that. And to help us with that, we have our special guest for today, Dr. Mahsa. She is doing great things with her husband at heal-thrive.com. She is certified in clinical trauma. She's got her bachelor's. She has her Ph.D. She has her master's. She's doing great things. Specifically, she has Ph.D. in clinical social work, emphasis on psychodynamic treatment. And today, like I said earlier, we're going to have a special topic about childhood trauma, finding the core problem of that. And with that, I want to welcome her to the show. How you doing, ma'am?
Hi, thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor to be here. And let me say hello to your listeners. Thank you for being here. It's really nice. How are you?
I'm doing great. And I know this is going to be a fun interview. And with that said, kind of give us a backstory. What inspired you to do what you do today? Because you have a lot of education in your background, but I'm sure that was all tools to help you to provide that value you do for your community.
I appreciate that. Well, let me tell you that I'm Persian. I'm from Iran. And growing up, I always observed people helping each other. And a story that comes to mind is, we were in the car going somewhere and I saw somebody's car broke down. And probably 10 people literally ran to the guy, pushed the car, got the car going and left. There was not much of a conversation. Nobody said anything. It was the idea of, you need help, we're here, okay, we're done, we're good, everybody back to their business. So I grew up in a country that helping people was just a part of your nature. And that's what you do. You care about each other, you care about people, you care about elderly. You show up, you help, and that's a part of your personality. So I always knew that, and I feel like that was something that was reinforced in my growing up with my parents and my culture. And definitely as I continued to grow, I moved to America when I was 20 years old, had to learn English, go to college. And in that process, talking to the different professors, they always told me that what you want to do is social work. What you're passionate about in helping everyone and really looking at the systems involved and the dynamics involved is really social work, not psychology. By the time I got my master's, I felt like I still needed more. And I felt like in order to be the best therapist that I wanted to be, I personally needed more education. And that's when I went for my Ph.D. Now, there are a lot of master's level psychotherapists that are doing amazing jobs. So I don't want to, offend anyone. For me, I personally needed more. So I went for my Ph.D. in psychodynamic theories, where I really got an in-depth understanding of how to be a better clinician. And that enforced pretty much everything I did. I have worked in Department of Children and Family Services. I've worked in the jails. I've worked in CLA with the gang members. And I also worked in substance abuse program and with people with severe persistent mental illness up until the time that I went into Heal and Thrive with my husband, and we started Heal and Thrive Psychotherapy and Coaching. Our mission has always been the same: to support, to help, to give people opportunities we were given to become the best versions of of themselves.
And with over 12 years plus of experience in the field of mental health, you now establish a platform to empower people, especially those who are in search of finding the core issue of what's really going on inside their head and just in their life. So with that said, with today's topic, childhood trauma, what is some of the things that you explore when you're working with someone on day zero?
I want to know they come into the situation for, right? Everybody, the moment they make a decision that they need help, there's a motivating factor. As I listen to the motivating factor, I'm starting to put together analysis of what are the dynamics at play. In that, I'm looking for what are the traumas, and trauma can be something really big as physical or sexual abuse, or it can be as being, dismissed on a school ground. Trauma can be anything to anybody, but is it what is impacting that person to their core? I want to know what it was like growing up in their family and their relationships. How did they manage through school? So I'm really putting together a picture of this person and what they've been through and how that informs me of the problem they're experiencing today. So although they're talking about now to me, for me, I'm looking at their whole journey and consistently trying to put the picture together. I often say I have this white board next to me, and you're giving me the pieces of the puzzle. I'm sticking them on the board and say, does this look right? And together we create the story of their lives. And where did the difficulties or blocks, in a sense, happened? And what do we need to resolve? What was unresolved, unfelt, unheard, misunderstood that needs to be understood and resolved for them to become free and move towards, whatever they wish to accomplish in their life?
You listen to Refocus Radio talking to Dr. Mahsa. And man, with that said, the family also plays a role in finding those missing pieces to figure out what's truly going on. What's some of the ways that you work with the family to kind of find out where there's some things that they observed when they were with their family member, their child?
Most important thing is everyone does their best. As a mother today, I very much understand that we're doing our best. But as people and as humans, we're impacted by our past, what we went through, what we experienced, and the multi-generational traumas that have been passed down. So whether we like it or not, we impact our children for better and worse. What is important is to recognize, although we are imperfect, we have a responsibility to do better by our children and to try to negotiate, resolve, and set a better example for them. And the work on oneself allows this to happen. The self-awareness, looking at ourselves, being honest with ourselves, and having conversations about why we do things the way we do. So when I'm working with families who are bringing their children, I want to know about those families, the mother, the father, the caregivers, whoever the fathers or the mothers, whoever is raising the child. And where are they coming from and what are they bringing into the picture? What are their values? What are they trying to teach? And what are kind of like their traumas? I'm also, along with that, looking at the child and the interaction between the child and the parent, or caregiver is a better word. Let's say caregivers. And then I'm also looking at translating to the caregivers what I am seeing in the child. I remember, I'll tell you a story. I had a child come into my office with her mom, and the child was playing a game with the toys as I was doing the assessment. And she was setting up a couple of dolls playing with each other. And the baby doll kept saying to the mommy doll, come and watch TV with me. Come and spend time with me. So I started to ask the mom about how much time she spends with her daughter, what is their schedule. And the mom was basically like, I have no time. That was a perfect example for me to say, look, she's talking to you. In her place, she's telling you what she needs from you. And so I really work with the families to become aware of what their children or family members are telling them.
And with that, how many times have parents finally see the light come on and say, you know what, wow, like maybe I'm not spending the time and I'm not really paying attention to the needs of the child?
I have to say that I've been very lucky that my success rate has been about 90 to 95%. And I'm not trying to boast or anything. I really actually looked at my clients and a number of successes, and that was a number I came up with. I feel like everyone wants to if they can. And if it's brought to them in a non-judgmental, loving, caring space where they're valued, respected, and then informed, they're receptive. The 5% that didn't, one of them was deeply involved in addiction that just had taken over their life. And that person was just unable to recover or cope at that time in their life. Another one, the family just had so much of history of trauma themselves that to become aware of their impact, it was almost unbearable. And so it was easier to reject me and what I was offering than to look at themselves.
Speaking to Dr. Mahsa, and you can go to her husband's website, heal-thrive.com. And speaking of rejection, what about adults who have not, what's the right thing I want to say? Adults who have not confronted their past and maybe their own version of childhood trauma?
It's hard, right? It's hard to look at ourselves. It's hard to look at the things we just have ran away from and wanted to avoid. I get that. So, and there are therapies that allow you to learn skills to cope. I'm not in the business of coping. I want you to thrive. So I ask individuals to do the hard work of stepping into this space with me and do the self-exploration. With me being there to support them, guide them, hold them, not physically, but emotionally, and to create a space that they can be doing this work safely and in increments so it doesn't take over them. So I will become their partner in this process. And I would never ask them to do this alone. But it's a hard choice. And if they make that choice and they do start to face these things, they find a joy and a freedom that is unbelievable. And again, I'm not boasting, I'm just telling the stories. One of my clients every year, it's been about a few years since we have ended treatment. Every year he sends me a message and tells me about how successful he is and how he has thrived in ways he never imagined and how his family has thrived. And he's very kind to always, let me know. And he tells me, I don't need you. I'm letting you know that I don't need you. That the work we've done, when I get in trouble, when I have a difficult time, all I have to do is to look back at what I learned about myself and I solve it. So to me, it's worth it. And sometimes we don't need to go back and look at what happened. Sometimes it's best to leave the past in the past. But we can work on the emotions and the feelings and the experience, the result of what happened without ever remembering the memories.
And speaking of feelings, talking to Dr. Mahsa here on Refocus Radio, when someone is remembering those feelings, how do you help them distinguish facts from fear and fiction that comes from fear where it can be over-exaggerated? How do you bring clarity back into what they're actually seeing?
Think about it this way. There are few reasons that a person experiences what you call fiction. It is a fear of unknown, a fear that relates to survival, and in essence, a misjudgment of what is a threat. And in essence, what I do is a misperception, right? Is misunderstanding in a sense. So what I tell people is that anxiety is our body's alarm system. But when it becomes an anxiety disorder, it starts to get in the way of our life, is because this alarm system has become overly sensitive and is reacting to things that are not threatening our survival. In that sense, what we're doing is helping the person feel, express, understand, and grieve. The first step is to allow the feelings to be expressed. Unless anger is expressed, it doesn't leave a space for empathy. So by allowing the person to pour out what they have been holding back, I'm allowing this river to flow. Then I can direct it with their help. Then we can start to understand, okay, this is what you felt in that moment. That may or may not be somebody else's reality, but this was their reality in that moment. When that is validated, acknowledged, and understood, then the person can step back with me and look at a bigger picture of what was going on with the other players in that moment and why could they have possibly acted the ways they did. So through theorizing, we're creating empathy and understanding. If it's a matter of fear response, as I mentioned, anxiety is a survival mechanism. We needed to be afraid, so when a bear would show up, we would react. So anxiety is not a problem. It is fine-tuning it to respond to the things that are actually dangerous. And that's the work I do, is to help them calm their bodies down, because the body is it's a neurobiological response, calming the body down to then the cortical cortex, the higher parts of the brain, be able to assess the situation.
And with that help from you and your husband, with what y'all do at heal-thrive.com, you're helping people. I like what you said earlier about the river flow. Because I think until the river flows, there's no true healing. It's just covering up and trying to put up makeup, quote unquote, on the situation versus really identifying what is actually triggering that issue. So with that said, you said in the green room that you wanted to help educate the audience with some recent news in Iran. If you could kind of illustrate what's going on there and what awareness would you like to bring to our audience?
I really appreciate that opportunity. If I may add one really quick note, my husband and I work in a way where he's a life coach / ADHD coach, and I'm the therapist. I work on the past. He works in the present and now. So the clients that work with both of us not only get to heal, but also get here and now skills on how to move from this point on. So it's kind of like creates that wraparound service. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about Iran. So as you may have known, there's a revolution happening in Iran, and people are protesting and expressing their, grievances to the government. And the response has been horrific, to the point that at this point, people who are being arrested for just protesting, for speaking their words, have been taken, tortured, sentenced to death, and those sentences are being carried out. So far, they have killed they basically executed 2 people. This cannot go on, please. Our people are doing everything they can, but they don't have any other means besides their own bodies and their own voice. But other countries can, and we're desperately asking for help. Please look at the social medias, see what is going on, and if you can, spread the word.
And with that situation going on in Iran, what's the best smart way that our audience can contribute to a solution and help people like yourself who can use us as a side by side?
I am so grateful. Thank you for asking that, and thanks for your audience to be willing to help. What we need is this to matter, this to be covered in social media and therefore be covered in the news, and therefore the politicians feel the pressure to act. At this point, the regime has all the control, and the people are just people. They don't have weapons. We don't have weapons in Iran. So what we need is the outside world to step in. The United Nations 2 days ago ejected Iran's government being a part of like women's rights institute there. So that was a start. But these killings have to stop, and they have no intention to doing that. The regime has no intention. So only maybe through diplomacy and the other countries and the politicians are speaking, things can change. And politicians care about their people. They care about who's going to vote for them. And you are the people. They will hear your voices. Please be with me.
And are there any websites or nonprofits involved that our listeners can look at and find ways to donate their time and energy to, like you said, bring more light to the situation?
Definitely, Amnesty International has been very active, and they will accept support. Social medias, they are Voice of Iran 24, Manotoo, Manotoo, Iran International, are all different places that are covering the news.
Well, I'll definitely put some of that in the description, information for our audience to go check out for themselves. Once again, listen to I'm Refocused Radio, talking to Dr. Mahsa. She is doing great things with her husband. She does the therapy side, he does the coaching side, but you can go to the website, heal-thrive.com. And I can only imagine the trauma that could be going on with the youth and adults in Iran. And what some things that we can consider to think about to address that issue that could be going on as well?
So a lot of psychotherapists, doctors, psychologists have expressed an interest to help, individuals in Iran. At this moment, I'm working with a young woman as a psychotherapist in Iran on putting together podcasts and information on how to support the children, how to support men and women. What has become very prevalent is that people are getting released from prison in Iran are committing suicide because of the torture, emotional torture that they went through. So if anybody wants to write articles or blogs, we're more than happy to share. Ruza and I both, that's my husband, have Instagram accounts that are being seen, so we can share that through those or through your own or the other ones that I mentioned. People in Iran, although have very limited access, they are looking at the social media, and these are the ways we can support them.
And to help get that word out even more, how can someone listening right now contact you and your husband if they would want to talk to you all on their platform or write an article to get that word out even more to make this a major issue?
I appreciate that. Feel free to contact us. Our phone number is on healandthrive.com, heal-tribe.com. Our social media and Instagram, we do respond. On our website, there is the make an appointment. We do offer free consultation for your listeners. They just have to mention that they heard us here. And whether for that or their own, we sincerely believe no one should ever suffer alone. And there is options and there are things that can be done. Reach out to us. Rose will speak with you. I will speak with you. We do have free consultation for you. Let us help. If you are suffering, if you have someone that is suffering, if you want to make a difference in the world, reach out to us. We do respond to every call. And if for some reason we're not able to help you, we find someone who can. We do offer individual, couples, children, and family therapy and counseling. We do have an ADHD group. We offer ADHD coaching and therapy in a sense. I do provide some ADHD therapy. We're here for you. You don't have to go on to this journey alone. Whether you want to just talk to someone or you want to really become free of whatever is holding you back, let us be here for you.
And we mentioned earlier in the show how big mental health is right now. And today's times is very crucial for people to understand how important it is to understand where the status is. Is it in the light or is it in the dark? And they want to get closer to the light. They can take that step by going to heal-thrive.com, where you and your husband are doing great things. You're doing the therapy, he's doing the coaching. Last thing, what will you say to the listening audience, those who are searching for the purpose and finding the bigger picture to be something that is a service to this world to make it a better place?
I'll tell you a story. When I left Iran, I was 20 years old. We were 100% broke. We were living off of a student salary. And I had no one here. What I had was an opportunity. What I was given was the opportunity to achieve. That is what anyone has. Trust and believe you are enough. Trust and believe you can. And even if you can't see it, I will hold on to that for you. You have a life, and therefore you deserve to live it to the best of your ability. Whatever you have gone through, you're not alone. You don't have to be. Come, let us help you. Let someone take your hand.
Once again, been listening to Refocus Radio, talking to our guest today, Dr. Mahsa. You can go to her and her husband's website, heal-thrive.com, where she does the therapy and he takes care of the coaching. Also, if you're interested in learning more about Iran and you're hopefully ready to find ways to put your energy and time into this situation, you can visit one of the websites that you mentioned. It's Amnesty International. It's amnesty.org. You can go there right now and you can spread the word, share this with a friend, and get involved with social media, bring some more light to the situation. I want to say thank you again, Dr. Mahsa, for being here on the show and taking your time talking to us today.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for your listeners for listening to me. I'm very honored and so grateful. Thank you.